everybody, and welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms video. This is my second video. If you don't know who I am, clearly didn't watch the first video, go and watch it, link will be in the description. Alright, gonna start it off quite simple. This video will be your top guide for 2023 for investing in Archer Commanders. Gonna start off with pre-season of Conquest, gonna work my way up to Season of Conquest. Then I'm gonna structure out the best 6 marches if you're crazy to go 6 Archer marches that you can possibly invest in. Now, you might start out in pre-season of Conquest. You're going to see all these Archer commanders, such as El Cid. El Cid pre-season of Conquest. For a free-to-play low spender, which is what this guide is for, he's a horrible idea. He's completely useless past maybe KVK2. And you definitely can't use him in Season of Conquest. He has his third skill's alright with the march speed and the defense, and his fourth skill that gives you damage when you lose HP is okay, and the march speed as well. But it becomes very redundant after that. So I don't recommend putting gold heads in El Cid. Nor would I recommend putting gold heads into Thutmose, especially if you're an early player who's not spending money. He's alright for KVK1. He has a healing effect reduction, good stats at least, but his active skill just is really bad, and it's not worth investing in him. But when YSG drops, Yisong, max him. He's the one commander pre-season of Conquest that you should max. If you want to be set up best for Season of Conquest, you only want to max an Yisong and no other commanders. And then when you get to Season of Conquest, you're going to invest in a different commander, which I'll tell you about later. Now, when you reach KVK2, I think Tamiris drops. She is a good commander. She does hold up quite well in Season of Conquest. But the issue with her is that if she's your only march in Season of Conquest, then it's not going to go very well. Tamiris Yisong in Season 2 and 3, perfectly fine, works well. But once you reach Season of Conquest, unless you have 2 to 3 other Archer marches, or any other march, having a Tamiris in that ball is just having a Tamiris in general is not as good value as if you were to have a different commander. And same thing with Edward. Great damage factor, very high rage requirement, 1,350. In comparison, Tamiris only has 1,000. And so, as such, his active skill damage, 2,500, has also been overtaken by commanders like Boudica. Less rage, 2,300 requirement, 2,300 damage, 1,000 rage requirement. He does have good stats though. The 30% health is nice. 30% march speed is nice. This is also okay skill. Same thing here, but he really does fall off once you reach Season of Conquest. It's just he's not that tanky, and his skills really don't provide you much value, as really you're about to throw your skill, your opponent just turns around and walks away. You get no value. But if you don't want to wait till Season of Conquest, you're impatient. In Season 2, if you have an Edward, you can max him. Edward YSG is an amazing field combo, an amazing rally combo, only in Season 2 and Season 3. After that, he completely falls off. So, Season 1, 2, and 3, I recommend using something such as an Yisong with Herman or Kusunoki. If you have Kira maxed somehow, which I doubt you will, you can use her. She provides maybe a slightly better AoE than Kusunoki. Even then, not that much better, since Kusunoki provides a lot of debuffs and shrugs off debuffs, so that's good. You could also use Imhotep. He just inflicts debuffs, really. He has an attack, defense increase, good stats for an epic. Health bonus, but that's only for a garrison, so that's redundant on open field, which is what you'll be focusing as an early game player. And he inflicts another debuff on the target, so he's an alright commander to invest in. Really all the epic Archer commanders you can max. They're not going to affect you much. Like currently, I have 1,454 epic sculptures I can't use. So, epic commanders really just go with whatever you want. I personally use Kusanagi for open field. Kusanagi YSG. It's not very exciting, but it held its own in most situations. It got enough kills with the AoE. Um, so that's pretty much what you want to do. And now, once you reach Season of Conquest, first commander you want to max Boudica. 100% you want to max Boudica. And you want to do a Boudica YSG combo. That's probably the best early Season of Conquest combo you'll have access to. Unless you don't max YSG and you hold your sculptures for about 9 months. And then you can get yourself a max Nebu, or you can max out Artemisia. A max Artemisia instead. So you could, if you don't invest in New Song, which I'm going to say it's going to be very tough for 9 months, getting no kills, not battling, go with a Boudica Artemisia, or a Boudica Nebu combo. But if you want good value pre-Season of Conquest, till Season of Conquest, I recommend Boudica YSG. Great combo, works well. I'm going to switch over to the tier list now, and I'm going to put that on there, and then I'll show you the second march. Alright, so we just discussed that Boudica YSG is your best combo for a first march if you just came out of pre-Season of Conquest. It's going to be amazing. I used it personally. I got about 15 million kills in the KVK that I used it just as my single march. I was off school at the time, so that did help me. But it's extremely powerful, good trades, just don't get swarmed. It's best advice I can give. If you don't have a YSG already in Season of Conquest, you want to make one Ultra March, then I recommend don't invest in YSG. Not yet, at least. You'll go with a Boudica Artemisia, who, if you have Artemisia at 5515, that's absolutely amazing. Great skills for her. You get amazing 50% damage buff when whenever she activates her active skill. She has AoE 1800 up to 3 targets. And she has great health and defense buffs. Nebu, also another option. Could do a Boudica Nebu. Nebu has march speed. He reduces the rage of his opponents. 5 troop AoE, 1500 damage factor. And if you expertise him, he gets another 700 damage on top of that. Back to the game here, you can see Boudica's main skill, 2300 damage factor, is just absolutely insane. And on top of that, once you throw that skill, you will increase the skill damage taken and reduce skill damage taken by the opponent by 35% and reduce the opponent's march speed by 30%. It's an amazing active skill. Stupid amount of stats, 60% of stats for health, 30% attack, 30% defense, and then 10% march speed. The defense only kicks in when you have less than 80% units, but if you're battling on open field for more than 5 minutes, you're going to have less than 80% units. Next skill, 25% skill damage taken reduction while on the map. Just amazing. Keep in mind, doesn't work in resource nodes, doesn't work in cities, flags, or garrisons. It will work in a rally. Then you get a normal attack bonus, 50% chance to increase your normal attack by 25%, and a 25% chance to increase it by 50%. Next skill, increase all damage dealt to infantry by 5%. Healing factor, pretty useless, but it's there. And her expertise, definitely worth it. Highly recommend maxing her. Increase archer damage dealt by 10%. That is only attack, not all damage. So not attack, only counter attack and damage, not all damage. And when under control effects, which is silence, disarm, and heal immune, she has an 80% chance to dispel them. Now, the reason this is really good is because Artemisia, her fourth skill, when your rage meter reaches 80%, you get a 50% chance to silence her own troops for 3 seconds, and at the same time, she will grant herself 25% increased damage, which is all damage, the most premium stat in the game, for 5 seconds. Insane skill. If you had a commander that gets silenced, it's not as effective, but with Boudica, most of the time, really, you're going to be dispelling that, so that's fine. Artemisia, 1800 forward fan-shaped area, 3 targets, really good AoE, it's really powerful. Her defense, her health, really tanky stats, premium stats. Only issue with investing in an Artemisia, in my opinion, is you don't want to expertise her. 15% extra skill damage dealt to you is not good. Definitely has a very big chance to ruin some trades. So if I was to personally invest in Artemisia, I would go 5, 5, skip the third skill and 5. So 5-5-1-5 skill formation. But another issue with Artemisia, she's pure damage, so that means she's easily replaceable, in my opinion. So I personally won't be investing in her yet. And if I had to pick between Artemisia or Nebu, I'd probably invest in Nebu. Nebu has a 1500 direct damage factor to 5 targets, which is a lot. YSG is a 1700 to 5 targets in a circle AoE, but Nebu has 30% defense, which is really good. 10% less stats than Artemisia, however. Third skill, once again, redundant for open field. If you're rallying for some reason as a low spender or free to play, I would recommend maxing this skill. If you're not, don't bother. Then, troops led by this commander have increased all damage 15%, and they reduce rage of the opponents, which is really good because it reduces the rage after they throw an active skill. Meaning if they throw an active skill, hit the rage cap of 330 rage per turn, and you reduce it by a further 100, they can only get 230. Very good skill. Expertise, you can get it if you want that extra 500 damage factor. Otherwise, I don't recommend it. Now we're going to move on to your second march. Alright, now for a second march, you're going to want to invest in a Henry. I think Henry, personally, I've used him this KVK at 5-5-1-2 for most of the KVK. Henry is amazing. March speed, skill damage taken reduction is very tanky, and that pairs very well with YSG. A Henry YSG combo will serve you very well for for a very long time. His march speed is great. He has revenge damage when he's attacked. And he's just, whenever you see a Henry on the open field, you don't want to hit it because of the revenge damage. He has high counter attack damage. He deals high damage factor. It's all around just not the best march for your opponents or you personally to hit. So using a Henry with YSG, who is a high damage commander, behind it, highly recommend that. Another option, if you don't want to use a YSG, you don't have a YSG, Cyrus, easy to get, Wheel of Fortune. Cyrus has a great debuff. Cyrus also has revenge AoE as well, just like Henry. Henry's is only on a single target. And Cyrus will increase, Cyrus also has three skills which deal damage factor. I'm going to switch to the in-game now and talk a bit more about those. Alright, so we just discussed investing in Henry. Henry, first of all, 2300 direct damage factor. Top of the cream of the crop at the moment for damage factor. And then on top of that, whenever he throws his skill damage he takes will be reduced by 30% for 5 seconds. That paired with his support talent tree, which gives 150 rage whenever a skill is used, and YSG behind, who is another rage engine. Sorry, the wrong skill. Pretty much means Henry's going to be throwing his skill first, and that means any skills which will usually come right after that hit your Henry are going to do a lot less damage. Meaning you won't take as much damage, you'll deal more damage after, and you'll get a better trade. His next skill, 20% increased attack, 20% defense, and 20% march speed. Very important. Isong has no march speed at all. Third skill, rally, skip it. I got unlucky. I got a point in it. I'll probably skill reset at some point. Fourth skill, he will deal 6% more archer damage, which means just counter attack. Doesn't mean all damage. And he will deal 800 direct damage factor, 10% when attacked. So if someone's attacking you, there's a chance that if you're running away, you'll just attack them back for 800 direct damage factor. Pair that with Isong's increased skill damage. That's very good. That's 1200 damage factor dealt straight back at your opponent. Expertise, if you want to get it, if you think you'll get value from it, I won't be personally getting it because I need to make a third march. When your troops rage reaches 70%, they deal 30% more normal attack, which isn't both counter attack and normal attack, just normal attack. Otherwise, so whenever you're under 70% rage, basically after you throw a skill, you take 20% less normal attack damage. Very good skill, increases Henry's tankiness even more than it already is. And just, you've always wanted to put a tank in front of YSG. Back in the start of the game, people were using Richard YSG, Alex YSG, all these tanky commanders. Henry YSG, amazing combo. I've used it personally extensively. Very good, served me well this KVK. Henry Cyrus, also a great option. Cyrus has a 20% additional damage taken increased debuff, which doesn't mean additional skill damage or normal damage. It means additional damage factor. You can see here, upgrade preview, additional damage factor, that's what that is. Cyrus has more march speed, so your Henry will be way quicker. He also has an attack bonus of 30%, which is great. Now, another thing Cyrus has, which just also makes Henry even more tanky, is Cyrus, whenever his Persian bow skill procs, which is a 10% chance, first of all, he deals damage factor. That's always nice. But he inflicts a 40% skill damage reduction debuff on the opponent, meaning you'll be having 30% skill damage taken reduction, and then if you get the Cyrus skill to trigger, 40% on top of that. So 70% less skill damage between Cyrus and Henry is amazing. Cyrus also has Revenge AoE, so whenever he's attacked, chance to hit multiple targets with an area of effect of 300. It's not a lot. It triggers twice, so 600 total damage factor, which is nice. And his expertise, which if you end up getting him, I recommend maxing him. After using an active skill, 20% increased attack, 20% increased defense, 3 seconds, and you gain 50 extra rage per second for 3 seconds. So that's another rage engine. Put that with Henry, that's amazing. I've personally used Boudica Cyrus, also an okay option. Henry Cyrus also will be very good. Boudica and Cyrus, if you want to do that instead. So I personally use Boudica Cyrus, Henry YSG. If you don't want to do that, Henry YSG or Henry Cyrus, and then a Boudica Artemisia or Boudica Nebu. Now, third march will probably be either a Gilgamesh, so either a Gilgamesh and a Nebu, which is what I'm currently going to invest in. Or, if you want more damage, okay, bring your Nebu back up with your Boudica, move the Gilgamesh down, and you can do a Minotauri Artemisia combo. This combo, I personally do not like, just for the reason that a Minotauri especially is just damage. That's really all she's got. She has some rage reduction, but so does Nebu. So she does become, I reckon she will become very redundant, easy to replace. Just a pure damage commander, no debuffs. So a Minotauri Artemisia, I personally don't think it's the best third march. So what I recommend personally doing would be keeping your Artemisia with your Boudica, bringing your Nebu down, and then doing a Gilgamesh Nebu combo. Because Gilgamesh, highly underrated, I reckon. If you have a CPO Prime, Gilgamesh is not as powerful, because Gilgamesh, his health debuff, does not stack with CPO Prime. So if you're not focusing very heavily on archers, Gilgamesh is probably not the best choice. And then that's when a Minotauri Artemisia combo would come into play. But if you are focusing on archers, then a Minotauri Artemisia is not the best third march. And it definitely would have to be a Gilgamesh Nebu. So you can see in here that Gilgamesh, his active skill, 1500 damage factor. Alright, not amazing, but really not bad. It's pretty good. And on top of that, enemy health reduced by 30%. That is amazing. Top tier infantry commanders, such as Scipio Prime, has the same health reduction on an active skill. That's the only problem with investing in Gilgamesh, in my opinion, because his health debuff will not stack with Scipio's debuff. So if you have a Scipio, Gilgamesh is still a good commander, but probably not the best for the third march. But if you don't, Gilgamesh's second skill, 30% archer health. That's very, very, very good. And you deal a 20% increased damage. So that's not all damage, but increased damage. So that is all damage. No, it's not. It's not. To the enemy troops when they have fewer than 50% units. So basically, fewer than 50% units, they're already weaker. And now that you've got a Gilgamesh dealing even more damage, you're just going to annihilate them. He's going to get a ridiculously amazing trade against troops with under 50% units. Third skill, rally skill. Skip it. Unless you plan to max him like I do. His third skill is really just, if you want to rally, definitely have to get that skill. It's really good for rallies. Increase attack by 20%, and then up to an extra 36% attack after 36 seconds. And then his final skill, amazingly unique debuff currently. His troops take 10% less damage from normal attacks. Just a pure 10% less, which is just very tanky. This is like Henry level tanky right here. And he inflicts a blood craving debuff on targets. Targets which have this debuff will take damage factor whenever they heal of 500, and the debuff lasts 3 seconds. basically, if you find a Richard on the field, something that almost every archer trades good against already, you're just gonna bury that Richard. Just draw a grave for that Richard, and then write "Rip, killed by Gilgamesh," because he's going to annihilate it. 30% chance of inflicting it basically means it's gonna be up almost every 5 seconds. Other commanders that heal, find a Boudica. Boudica heals. Not many people run Gilgamesh, so finding a Boudica and using your Gilgamesh against it will absolutely annihilate it. Other commanders that heal, I'm pretty sure Ramses has a healing factor. He does. That's very good. Just gonna destroy the Ramses. I don't think Thutmose does. Thutmose have one? No, he doesn't. Xeno. If for some reason you find a Xeno on the field, already gonna be dead. But if you find one, that's also gonna die very, very quickly against the Gilgamesh. Just the extra damage is ridiculous. Other than that, it's just a great bonus to have. And then if you end up expertising Gilgamesh, which I recommend doing if you want even more debuffs, especially not damaging debuffs, even more skill damage reduction taken debuffs or skill damage taken increased debuffs, you want to max Gilgamesh. Without the expertise, it's just the normal blood craving debuff and the stuff I spoke about before. With expertise, troops led by this commander take 15% less attack, so it's an extra 5%. Same percent chance inflicting the blood craving, but he makes his opponents, while it's active, take 15% increased skill damage. So that plus Boudica's 35% is 50% increased skill damage that they take. That's just crazy. And if you have a YSG behind a different commander, that's 100% total skill damage taken increase. Very good. Very, 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 very good. Now, the thing is, on top of all that, with his expertise, you will now deal 700 damage factor per tick of blood craving. So if you find someone that heals, the blood craving will make them take 2100 damage factor, which is also extremely high. The reason I pair him with Nebu, of course, AoE, that's great. Nebu has march speed. That's the very important thing. His march speed is really good. If you don't want to do a Nebu, you can do a Cyrus. Cyrus, I'm pretty sure, has more march speed. Nope, the same amount of march speed. Cyrus, march speed, it's great. Additional damage taken, all this other debuffs we spoke about before. Another thing with Nebu, rage reduction on the opponent, that's great, especially with Gilgamesh. You don't want to be getting hit by silences and skills very often, because you just want to be going skill after skill and just popping out those debuffs as quick as you can. Now, onto a fourth. Okay, so fourth march. Now, you've got to bring down your Artemisia, and you've got to run. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. A Minotaur Artemisia, great fourth march. And now for your Boudica, you're going to want to put a Cyrus behind her. I've used Cyrus and Boudica, or KVK for this whole KVK, and it's amazing. You get hit, great. You just attack them back, basically, with free damage. So, I highly recommend it. Now, with your Boudica, with your Minotaurian Artemisia, great combo. If you're willing to accept the fact that it might be replaceable within the near future, because it is just pure damage. Artemisia, she's not a bad investment. She will seem to hold her value as long as Boudica stays in the place that she is. I think new Archer Commanders will be coming out soon though, so Artemisia, a Minotaur Artemisia may not be the best new combo. So, gonna switch to the game now, explain why they work, how they work. So, we've already gone over Artemisia. Now, the main thing with her is this silence skill. It's probably her best skill. Her active skill is great. It's probably not her best skill. Same thing. This skill is great as well, very tanky. But Minotaur, the one commander I don't have, has very alright damage factor. Like, it's not that good. It's actually less than Gilgamesh, and I think it's less than Tamaris as well. So her damage factor is a bit lackluster, but could be worse. Could be El Cid damage factor. She offers a 40% attack bonus, something Artemisia doesn't have in her kit. Although Artemisia has all damage, we won't talk about that part. And 5% all damage to infantry just permanently, that's great. But she does take 5% extra damage from cavalry. Really rock, paper, scissors right there, where archers beats infantry, infantry beats cavalry, cavalry beats archers. Third skill, garrison skill, don't need it. or you do need it when you want to max her. Fourth skill, revenge damage. So whenever she takes skill damage, just any skill damage, she deals direct damage factor of 800 to 3 enemies in a forward facing fan shape. Basically, whenever you get hit with any skill damage, so if AoE hits you, you hate that AoE, you're just going to give more AoE to your opponents. If they're serving as a garrison, you have a chance to deal another round of skill damage, and then another chance to deal another round of skill damage. As usual, the amount of skill damage is reduced for each target, makes sense. The skill can only trigger once every 10 seconds though, so really, if you get hit by skill damage, it's going to be 10 seconds before you can re-trigger that skill. So if it was 5 seconds, it'd be way better, but take what you can get, I guess. Her final skill, very good skill. This is probably her best skill. So you need to expertise in a Minotaur if you want to use her. Troops led by her are immune to silence, which comes back into play with Artemisia's fourth skill, because Artemisia will silence her troops. And on top of that, active skills reduce the target's rage by 100 per second for 2 seconds, so 200 rage reduction, really good. It's one thing that will allow her to keep her value just for a little bit. Nebu has the same thing on his fourth skill, except it's 100. Still, if you put those together, that's 300 rage reduction. Basically, if you somehow got them to stack together, that means that in one skill throw, one skill from Nebu, and then a Minotaur's skill activating, if your opponents threw their skill at the same time, their rage from that active skill, if they hit the rage cap, will be a nice 30. Just 30 rage, and they need 1,000, so that will completely shut. Basically, that silences them for a turn. So this is a pretty good combo if you want to get some more damage out there. If you're going full archer, you need to invest in this for a 4th march. Alright, now, if you're crazy and you go for 5 marches, like I will probably be doing in the future, I'll put it simple. It's probably not the best idea. 3 marches, archers probably is the most you need. And if you're going for 3 marches, archers, or if you're only going for 3 archer marches, you will go for the Minotaur Artemisia, and then you'll probably won't invest in Gilgamesh. But if you are not going for 3 marches, then you need to have that Gilgamesh in there, because you probably will not have a CPO. Now, for the 5th march, Ramses, Tamiris. Tamiris, usually you want to pair behind an Edward or someone with high rage, but here's the thing, Edward sucks. That might be changing, he's getting a relic soon, so maybe I will remake this tier list, and Edward would be a 5th march. That is still to be seen. So, Ramses, very tanky, very fast, pretty good damage factor. Paired with this Cyrus up here, he might be good, but Cyrus's skill can still affect the target that your Ramses is hitting. So Ramses' active skill, which takes less, because he doesn't have a rage engine, isn't as quick as Cyrus. You may get them to line up properly, so that means he will deal extra damage. Tamiris, she's great. I spoke about her at the start of the video. She offers skill damage taken debuff on crack. Basically, it stacks up as a poison stack. It's great if you have 3 or more other marches. I wouldn't say she's a possible 4th march, a Ramses Tamiris. If you don't want Artemisia or you don't have her, you can do an Artemisia Tamiris, because Artemisia will silence herself, allowing you to put more stacks of poison on the opponent, which increase in potency. But if you don't have that, then Ramses Tamiris is a fine combo. Ramses, easy to get, Wheel of Fortune. Tamiris, if you're a low spender, she's in the daily bundle. Same thing with Artemisia. Otherwise, she's a Mightiest Governor Commander, but she can also be gotten from Legendary Tavern, I'm pretty sure, or the Heart's Desire event, which is probably the best value of the Legendary Keys event. Alright, back in game now. Ramses, great commander. Alright, he is just pure open field. First skill once expertise, which we'll get to soon. But currently, 800 damage factor for 2 seconds, so 1,600 damage factor. It doesn't say for the next 2 turns. As such, when you throw that skill, regardless of if they stay or run away, they will take that skill damage. For both 2 seconds. He also has a defense reduction. That's great, but one issue is doesn't stack with the legendary Alexander Nevsky commander. Nevsky has a 30%, troop defense of 15% per stack. So if he's getting swarmed, it's 45%, pretty high. But if you don't have a Nevsky, Ramses, great debuff. It won't stack with Nevsky, just as I said before. As well, 40% increased attack. nice base stats. Can't complain about him. Of course, his attack most undervalued stat since it's very easy to get from Season of Conquest technology. Third skill, 10%. They take 30% less damage, so he's just tanky. Something that Tamaris needs. She hasn't got that much in terms of being tanky. Another thing for Ramses, nice 40%, 10% chance to get another 40% attacks. That's 80% just pure attack. And then finally, also with that 10% chance, you may gain 40% march speed, which basically means if you get hit, you might get lucky, and you can just literally run out of there as fast as a car. No one's gonna catch you. Fourth skill, another great open field skill. Normal attacks have a 10% chance to heal slightly wounded units. That's kind of useless, but increase defense by 40% for 3 seconds. So if these two stack, you're dealing 80% attack and also 40% extra speed plus the 40% defense. Just great stats. That's 120% of stats. Really good. Final skill, inflicts a heal immune effect. As far as I know, this heal immune effect does not block Gilgamesh's blood craving effect. As such, they do pair well even if they're in the same mutable. And now the other thing is, since this is damage over time, using Osiris, 30%, 20% additional damage taken increase. As such, Ramses will be dealing an extra 20% damage per turn, so that's an extra 200, equating to a total of 2,400 damage factor. Basically, throwing a Boudica's active skill every time he throws an active skill if it lines up with Osiris. Now, for Tamaris, very hard to explain, it's going to take me a while. First of all, just a base 1000 direct damage factor. Now, she has poison stacks. These poison stacks, once you max this fourth skill, are great. They have a 100% chance to stack. Each stack lasts 5 seconds. The timer is refreshed, of course, each time a stack is applied. For each stack, the target takes 15% increased skill damage. So 3% increased skill damage. That's amazing. All up, that would be 45% increased skill damage if you somehow got 15 stacks. Very hard to get 15 stacks, but if you do, that's just really good. Ramses doesn't have the skill tree, so you won't be throwing your active skills extremely often, which Tamaris doesn't want you to do, because when you throw your active skill here, you see that she removes the poison effects and inflicts poison damage. So the damage equals the number of stacks. If it's less or equal to 10, it's 40 damage per stack. So if you have, let's say, 7 stacks, you'll do an extra 200 and something, 280 damage. If you have more than 10 stacks, if you did 10, let's say you had 11 stacks, you do an extra 880 damage. Great damage factor. The main thing about that is you'll also be doing extra damage from that skill damage, and every other commander you have will be doing extra damage. That's why she's great with the 4th or 5th march, because what she does is she increases every other commander's damage. If it's just her plus one other march, you're really only buffing one commander. If you're investing in Tamaris, her expertise is alright. 10% increased attack, 10% increased counter attack, and when reduces the attack of cavalry units by 10%. If that was all damage, expertise would probably be worth it, but currently it's only attack. As such, I will just go for a 5, 5, 1, 5 Tamaris if you can get it. This skill, literally useless unless you're in like Season 2 or 3. And you won't be rallying in Season 2 or 3 unless you're a big whale. Now I'm going to speak about the 6th March, which I'll just get up. Alright, 6th March. So, this is probably the best Archer March in the game that you can get. I'm joking. It's probably the literal worst. It won't be very good in pretty much any situation, so I highly doubt you should get 6 Marches unless you go for a commander like Honda, but I'm not talking about him in this video. So, you want to go with something such as an Edward of Woodstock. Has to be either the primary or the secondary, because he's probably the best commander left in your arsenal. And then finally, you'll either want to go for a Thutmose, who I don't have the proper picture of. Thutmose with Edward of Woodstock, it's really not bringing much. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't really use a 6th March in general, but if you really wanted one, Edward of Woodstock and Thutmose, it's possible. Probably won't be very good. Now, if you really don't want to use an Edward of Woodstock primary because of that rage requirement, You can go with an El Cid Edward of Woodstock or a Thutmose Edward of Woodstock. El Cid has one thing that no other archer commander has, but every other commander, a lot of other commanders have that is better. Is he can silence your opponent for a great one turn. That's crazy and very redundant at this point. So really, 6 marches isn't good. I don't even think I need to reopen the game to talk about them. So I will, but that's pretty much all I have to say about a 6 march. Alright, now I'll talk about the Whopping Henry. So you start off with a nice 2,500 damage factor with a stupidly high rage requirement. Basically, you're never going to get to throw this skill. Your opponents will just retreat and walk away, and then you've shot at the air. If he's secondary, literally halves his damage factor. And on top of all this, when he throws his skill, he loses 300 rage. He loses rage. Basically, his rage requirement is 1,650. Very high. Not very good. Second skill, on the map, 20% increase, 30% increased march speed, sorry. That's fine. 30% health, very good, but it's Edward of Woodstock. Next skill, he does skill damage bonus when he only has archers. Of course, that's completely useless when you can't throw your active skill, aka when you're using Edward of Woodstock. At the same time, he deals 5% extra damage to infantry. That's good, but you won't be throwing any active skills. And next, when your troops have more than 70% units remaining, basically, if you don't get hit, you gain 15% attack, which is 40% when maxed, and you lose 10% defense, so just making you less tanky. Active skill. After using an active skill, all normal attacks and counter attacks have increased damage, so 50% basically all damage. Not bad, but you won't be throwing any skills, so kind of useless. El Cid, 1,000 damage factor. Lowest in the game. Plus 150, and can silence the opponent for 1 second. The extra 150 is from the museum artifact. Now, you see, he can also deal an extra 1,000. It's 10% chance. I guess that's alright, but someone like Cyrus is going to be doing that regardless. Plus having a debuff, plus march speed, plus attack, plus being a rage engine, just way better. And I wouldn't put any gold heads in El Cid ever, just regardless. Just don't make a 6 march if you're going to put gold heads in one of them. You get 20% increased defense. Wow. Amazing. 15% march speed. I guess you're going to be fast, at least, so you can run away when you don't throw your skill. And when you have 50% or less units, which you don't want to be out on the field under 70% units with Henry, because otherwise you won't be throwing any active skills, you'll just have 10% less defense. You will get 25% damage and 25% march speed. At least you'll be able to run away quickly, because this march sucks. And archer units, when you're maxed, 5% increased attack. Crazy stats right there. That's actually breaking the game. And 5% increased defense, which keeps on giving. And you deal an extra 2% damage to infantry. Wow. What can I say besides don't use 6 marches, please? If you want to go Edward of Woodstock Thutmose, healing effect reduction. Amazing. Not like Ramsey's. Has a literal heal block and Gilgamesh makes them die. Another option. 15% attack, 10% march speed. 15%, sorry, the march speed's only outside of territory. No, it's not, sorry. The increased damage is only outside of territory. That's not bad. 15% increased damage. This guy's probably better than El Cid. Next skill. 4% increased defense. Up to 10% when maxed while they're on the map, so no resource nodes. Each troop has a 10%. Each troop? I don't think this is a buff. I think that's just a bad typo. I think it should be... Oh, each troop attack, my bad. Has a 10% chance of inflicting a debuff on the target, increasing its heal damage taken by 15%. Just saying, this is a 10% chance. Gilgamesh, when maxed, is a 30% chance for the same skill damage taken. Boudica just gives it to them as a screw you. So, not the best. His damage factor just sucks. You take 4%, 10% when maxed, less counter attack damage, and when attacked, 10% damage to deal direct damage factor. Only can trigger every 8 seconds. Still not very amazing. And then here, after using a skill, 30% normal attack damage for 3 seconds. Guess what? If you're using Edward, you don't get to throw active skills, so just hope you don't die, basically. Anyways, I'm just going to say, everyone, thanks for watching. I do hope this guide helped you just a little bit, or a lot. And please like, subscribe, share the video, get the word of this channel around. All the best content's going to be on here. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.